Good afternoon, everybody. The current fifth wave has been hitting new highs of infections since early February, and many of us may experience high level of anxieties and receiving a big amount of information every day, be it from the news, social media, from our friends or loved ones. But oftentimes, this information can make you feel overwhelmed and confused. So we bring you speakers for today who will tackle some of the most commonly asked questions in a few minutes from now. I am your facilitator today, Baikong Mamid, Director of Communications of MSF Hong Kong. Before we begin, I'd like to share some house rules. Participants other than the speakers are muted. Questions may be asked throughout the webinar. Send your questions to the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the discussion and will respond to your questions then. And lastly, we will be recording the webinar for future viewing. Before I introduce the speakers, I'd like to share that this live discussion is organized by Doctors Without Borders, Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF. Founded in 1971, MSF is an international, independent, medical humanitarian organization that delivers emergency aid to people affected by armed conflict, epidemics, natural disasters, and exclusion from healthcare. Since the pandemic first broke out in Hong Kong in 2020, MSF has actively responded to the situation throughout the past 2 years, such as conducting health education and promotion, stress and anxiety workshops, and others. We have learned in our experience the importance of having correct and essential health information to address panic and concerns. So these webinars are just one of the different ways we are reaching out and engaging with you in light of the current fifth wave of infections. So now let me introduce you to our two speakers today. Ms. G. Nakanainai, she's a registered nurse in the Philippines and is currently based in Hong Kong and worked in outbreak settings. She works as Senior Field HR Officer for MSF Hong Kong. Hi, G. And our second speaker is Ms. Valencia Gawanda. She is a clinical psychologist from Indonesia and also based in Hong Kong, and currently the psychological support specialist for MSF. So let me zoom into Omicron. So Ms. G, Omicron is such a common word nowadays that many of us are aware that it is a mutated variant of COVID-19 with high transmission rate. And many of us may be worried of being infected with the virus. So can you tell us what are the common symptoms to watch out for?
Sure. Thank you, Ate Bai. So basically with the symptoms of Omicron, it mimics like a flu-like symptoms as well. So classic signs would be fever, headache, sore throat. Others will have dry cough, chills, and fatigue. For severe cases, for adults, you would see that one will have chest pains. They will also have shortness of breath, confusion, irritability. For children, however, the mild symptoms for children would also be the same as of adults, like fever, cough, headache. But they will also have cases of diarrhea as well, or watery stools. And for severe cases for symptoms for children, there would also be like chest pain, convulsion, loss of speech or mobility, persistent high-grade fever, which is 38 degrees Celsius and above. It's kind of tricky for children, but most of the time, if you see that your children is no longer playing, or like they lose their appetite, most of the time they are actually feeling sick.
Thank you, G, for that. You know, the symptoms can actually, range from mild to severe, right? So But then for some people, they said that they don't have any symptoms but tested positive with a rapid antigen test, while some tested negative, even though they have shown some of the symptoms you just mentioned. So why would this happen? And is there something we need to worry about if we face that kind of situation?
That is actually a very good question, because with the COVID-19, it's not necessarily that you develop symptoms. Others can be asymptomatic, but they are already have the COVID-19 virus. So when asymptomatic people undergo these rapid tests, as they are already infected, then the test result will show positive. The commonly seen symptoms of Omicron are not very specific to Omicron only. Like I said earlier, the symptoms can also be like from flu-like or other diseases, especially like, for example, sore throat. If you have sore throat, it can either be Omicron or it can either be cold as well, like you have cold. That's why when you have this kind of symptoms, it is best that you have yourself tested just to be sure that you don't have the virus in your body. So, but then sometimes if your test result turns out negative, but you consistently still feel like you have that kind of flu-like symptoms, you can also try to do another test, basically maybe around 2 to 3 days. So day 1, day 4, day 7, and day 10. There are available rapid antigen test kits in the market. Ideally, with a government-approved product would be okay.
Thank you, Jay, for the reminder. I think it's a very good reminder for all of us that normally at this time of the year, it's flu season in Hong Kong, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes you get to see that symptoms that's similar to Omicron, but perhaps it's not Omicron, but maybe common colds or flu.
Exactly.
But as you've said, the only way to actually understand and know whether you have the COVID-19 virus or just a common colds or flu is to actually take the rapid antigen test or get tested. So testing is the only way to know if you have the virus. And then just recently, the government also has announced that people can register positive results using a rapid antigen test on a government site without having confirmation from doing the PCR test. So, G, you've slightly mentioned about taking rapid or doing the rapid antigen test. So maybe I just would like you to zoom in further on anything or maybe tips that we needed to be aware of when using the rapid antigen test.
Sure. So like I said earlier, yeah, if you feel like you are developing symptoms, that is one way of knowing that you need to take the rapid test. Another thing is that if you are a close contact of someone who is positive, then you also need to take the rapid test. Or if you went to an area with high risk infection or places with high cases of COVID-19, you can also do that. And then again, if you are, for example, if you're tested positive, you can also try to do another test in 5 to 7 days later to see if you still have the virus in your body. Another thing that you need to take note of if you are doing the rapid test is to make sure that you store your kits in an area with the right amount of temperature. So you can also see it in the box as well. So say, for example, it says most of the time it will say that you have to store the test between 2 to 30 degrees Celsius. So it's basically room temperature. It should be fine. Do not put it directly to the sun, and do not put it in the freezer. Also, another way to make sure that your tests are in good condition is that if the seals are not broken, check for the expiry date. And any items, when you open it, if any items are already open, then do not use it as well. And of course, every time you finish or every time you conduct this test, make sure that you keep or you put all these test equipments in a sealed bag for disposal.
Thank you, G. And I think it's quite good to know that always observe the packaging of the
Yeah.
rapid antigen test that you just bought before
Yeah.
using them. And if the seal is broken or it's expired, or of course it's not reusable, so proper disposal is needed for RAT. So, G, maybe my next question, and I think it's also what we all have experienced, especially if it's your first time to use rapid antigen test. It can be daunting, no? Can be intimidating to use it. So, can you tell us or go through us how do we read the test result, um, and whether it's that is it a negative or is it a positive?
Mm. Sure. What we always say is that when you're trying to do this test, it's the same as when you're doing the pregnancy test as well. The kits would almost be the same. So basically, when you open the test kit, you would find this rectangular specimen where you are going to put your specimen, and then you will find the C and the T. It should be clear. There should be no lines there because you did not start testing yet. So C means control and then T means test. So when you start putting on the specimen already or the fluid, then you would see that the color would change. And then you would know the reading if, for example, if there is just one line where the line is in the C part, that means that you are negative. But if you see that both lines are both have lines, the C and the T, then you are tested positive. You just have to also think that you just also have to remember that the lines in the T part doesn't need to be very doesn't need to be very clear. Sometimes it's also a very faint line. So even if it's faint line, then it still means positive. But if you only have the line in the T, that means that your test is invalid. So this is how you read the test actually. And like I said earlier, yeah, there are different types of rapid antigen test in the market, and each rapid antigen test as well have different methods of the waiting time before you read it. Others would say only for 12 minutes, others would say for 15 to 30 minutes, or others would, like what I'm using, it's 15 to 20 minutes. So you have to make sure that you follow the window of the waiting period before you actually read your tests. And then also take pictures as well if you want to make sure that you're for example, if you tested negative and you want to test again, so at least you know when you did the test. So yeah, so that's it.
So most importantly is to read the instructions as per your chosen rapid antigen test, and then also making sure that you also understand how long you should wait for the result. Thank you, G, for that. Before I go to the next question, I just would like to remind our participants that if you have questions, feel free to jot down, type on the Q&A box your questions to our speakers today. So some people said that they have been doing the rapid test consecutively for a few days, and the results were negative until a certain day. Suddenly it becomes positive. Can you explain to us a little bit why such situation would happen?
Mm, sure. So basically, this rapid antigen test is a test to see the amount of viral load inside your body. Viral load would mean the amount of infection or the amount of virus inside your body. If it's below or above the designated benchmark, and when it is actually above the benchmark of the test, then your result would appear to be positive, and then vice versa for sure. If you are tested negative, It can mean that you have an absolute zero viral load or viral infection in your body, but also it could also mean that you do have the virus in your body, but it did not reach the benchmark. So that's why when you try to test again the following, for example, 2 to 3 days, because the virus has a tendency to also increase inside your body. So after 2 to 3 days, when you test again, then it tested positive. It's because the virus has increased. And your result changes from negative to positive. If you remember correctly earlier when I mentioned that, make sure that you put the date or take a picture of your rapid antigen test just so you would know when you were tested negative and then you tested positive. Um, Also, another reason could be that since this is a nasal swab, it could also be that how you collect your sample is wrong, because sometimes the way you conduct may also affect, the results. So it's either when you insert the nasal swab in your nostrils, or when you feel the resistance, or when you feel a bit uncomfortable, you already take it away. Sometimes it can also yield negative results. So again, maybe just to remind again that if you feel like you are not feeling well, but if you're tested negative, just do the test again in a couple of days just to make sure.
So that's why, I think you've mentioned from the beginning as well that when you do the RAT, you do it for first day and then a few days after, etc. So that's also why we need to take the test several times over a period of days.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks. The next question is, I think this is the most asked question, perhaps. We'd like to know, like, which is the best brand, or which brand is recommended to purchase and to use to take the antigen test.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think lately the government has announced, the 4 list of rapid test kits that they actually have approved. One is from the Hong Kong Department of Health. Two is from China's National Medical Products Administration. Another one is from the European Union, and then the last one is from the USA FDA, or Food and Drug Administration. As the list is quite long, it is good to look up the direct brand name or the manufacturer of the company. It is usually seen on the side of the box where there is like CO, or Company Limited, or COLTD. So you would find the manufacturer name there. I think also in the yeah, exactly. So in the PowerPoint, you would see the different test kits which the Hong Kong government is giving out, which can also be bought commercially. So also double check the rapid test is an antigen test and not an antibody test. So to detect a current COVID infection, antigen is what we are using actually.
So there's a difference of antigen test and antibody test. Okay. All right. Because sometimes, when we go to the supermarket, to the market or pharmacy, you're on a rush, and then there's also some people who be purchasing them. So just to make sure that what you're getting is an antigen test and not an antibody test, unless you actually need the antibody test.
The antibody test, exactly.
All right. So for example, when I tested positive, so what can I do, and also my family members can do in order to protect themselves or to take care of their loved ones who turned positive.
Yeah, so majority of the people who get tested positive for COVID with asymptomatic or no mild symptoms as well, getting sick is a little normal. So just keep calm. And then the important thing to see is if the symptoms would change over for a few days. Can you handle it? So that is the question that you need to ask yourself. Like I said earlier, there are mild symptoms, and then there are severe symptoms. So make sure if you ask yourself if you can handle it. For example, is it getting better when you're taking the a rest, or if you are taking over-the-counter medication? If it if you are getting better, then it should be okay. Rest some more, hydrate, and take medications. However, if your condition is getting worse, regardless of you resting or you hydrating or you taking the over-the-counter medication, and then you experience the severe symptoms like shortness of breath, children losing their appetite, you also have chest pain, then immediately reach out for medical attention. To also limit the spread of the virus inside the house, you make sure that you put your mask on indoors and in quarantine indoors for at least 1 week. If you have, or if you cannot have your own room, just try to limit your interaction with only one person, and make sure that you are also staying in a ventilated area. So like for example, in your room, maybe you can open your windows a bit just to keep the air flowing as well. And then you also have to notify the Center for Health Protection. But apart from that one, you can also share your result to those people who you had close contact with, just to make sure that they also need to take extra precaution and take tests as well. And lastly, as you all know, yeah, when you are tested positive, then sometimes you are going to be taken to the isolation facility and all these. So prepare for the possibility of being quarantined for the next 2 weeks. So basically, for you guys, if you have contact your employer or the school, or if you need to file sick leave, are there any people who can help you gather your items for you? Check with that one with your friends and family members. Also pack basic necessities, basic clothes, prescription medication, comfort food, and recreational items, because for sure that would be a long isolation. So and especially if you have young children involved, so bring their toys as well. And also remember to bring your Hong Kong ID and or passport for every single one.
Thank you, G, for that valuable tips to our audiences. No one wants to be infected. So if your friends, our friends or beloved ones are tested positive, let's not try to blame them. Instead, we need to show our support and understanding. And one of the ways as well to support them is to provide psychosocial support, which is important for us to fight against this current situation we are all in. So Valencia, can you share to us any coping tips that a patient or their family members can adapt to ease their worries and anxiety?
Yeah, yes, Baikong. There are tips to positively cope with the current situation. But before the tips, allow me to tell the story of our brain and body. So since the Stone Age, our ancestor and our brain and body are hardwired to notice threat and activate the fight, flight, and freeze function like shown here to protect our survival. This response prepares our body physically to deal with the crisis. And this is actually a very useful survival mechanism, but it takes a lot of energy. So our brain will shut down, our brain and body will shut down unnecessary function. And we will feel that our heart will suddenly start to pound faster. We feel, maybe some of us feel pressure in our chest, our mouth becomes dry, our muscle become tense, and our hands become sweaty. For a short time, this is very helpful. And we might hear a story that people suddenly have the power to jump over fire or lift a big heavy tree to save their child or themselves. But when these are happening for a long time, like during a pandemic situation, a series of sudden change like what we have now, this can make our access to the logical and rational part of our brain reduce, because this rational part of the brain to use to understand, for us to take a step back and make logical situation during crisis are weakened, because it's considered unnecessary during crisis. So feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and worry are actually very normal. And by knowing this story of how our brain and body function can really help us take care of ourselves. So congratulations to all of you who attend this webinar, because you have taken the first important step to take care of your well-being, which is knowing what happened automatically in your brain and body during crisis. Where I come from, Indonesia, we have a saying, tak kenal maka tak sayang, which means we can only take care of someone or something we know. Now, as said earlier, the tips, general tips to take care of our body and well-being during this time is, first, as much as possible, to keep your daily routine. Keeping a routine helps us bring order in this uncertain time. Be sure to keep your eating and sleeping time. Like the time, also be sure to keep the time you go to bed and wake up as much as possible at similar time, and make sure you have sufficient or enough food and water consumption daily. And if as much as possible to keep your daily routine and physical activity. Fulfilling our basic needs help us keep healthy and maintain our ability to take care of ourselves. Second, this might be trickier. Try to limit your media exposure. So the news, bombastic title for clickbait or worrisome message will increase our perception of threat and activate this fight or flight response and produce stress hormone like cortisol and adrenaline. I know it's not easy. I'm also using my gadget to ease my stress after a long day. But my message here is to be aware of this habit and try not to always stay connected all days to the media notification. One way to do it is to set one time or one moment at a day to check the news, and also to know where to get trusty information, like the official source, like for example, the government website, and later Baikong will also show how to access our website. And third, try to maintain your connection with your loved ones, like your friends and family. Talk to them and support each other. COVID time can be isolated experience because of the fear of spreading the virus. But tell your story and listen to them. As a social being, sharing and staying connected can help us receive and give support that we need during this difficult time. And four, being aware of yourself of these signs, like prolonged sadness, like being sad for a long time, prolonged difficulty to fall asleep, or like insomnia, disturbing memories that appears like often, or feeling of hopelessness. Yeah, talk to a trusted friend or the person in charge of your shelter, for example, or trusted medical personnel, and seek professional help if needed. We also have a website for you to check yourself. The How Are You website is a very interactive website where you can really see in details what to do if you are, for example, feeling bored, sad, boiling, and etc. It also have the contact, like who to contact in case you need more help. So yeah, so that's it from now, Waikong.
Thank you, Valencia. Before I come to you, I just wanted to remind our audiences that our speakers are trying to answer your questions over our Q&A box. So Valencia, I think you mentioned about some simple coping tips at this time of high level of anxiety that the society is currently facing. And I think some of these tips that you've actually shared are some of these like simple things, but sometimes we neglect them to do on a day-to-day basis, even during this high number of infections that we're seeing since February. So before anything, I'd like us to maybe for you to share as well, like everyone is affected by the pandemic, not just those who are turning positive. There are a lot of occasions that we feel anxious or stressed, such as when we are waiting for our test result, or struggling how to tell our friends that you are positive. So maybe, from a psychologist point of view, to maybe if you can go through with us a couple of minutes to do some relaxation exercise that some of us can actually do on our own for later. So Valencia?
Yes, sure, Baikong, thank you. So there are many relaxation activities that we can do, but I will start with sharing breathing exercise to relax our body and brain, because breathing is actually one of our superpower. So breath connects our body and brain and mind. So we have access to both when we give attention to our breathing. So we have two types of breathing. So the chest breathing, like the chest, and abdominal or belly breathing. So you cannot see my hands on my belly. I'll say that we breathe slowly and quickly when we are stressed. That you can see that people having their chest moving very fast and their breath become very short during when they are stressed. But when we feel safe and relaxed, we will automatically use our abdominal or belly breathing. Abdominal breathing is easy to notice in a baby. If you observe how they sleep, like you will see that their belly will go up and down. Or if you see, like, for example, an animal or a cat sleeping, you can also see their belly up and down. So it's like a balloon. So when it fills with air, it's expand. When it's blow out air, it's shrink. So using abdominal or belly breathing will tell our brain and body that the danger has already passed and now we are safe. Yeah. So because only when we feel relaxed and safe, we have access again to the part of our brain which we can make clear and rational decision or rational understanding of the situation. And also our body will relax to restore its energy to face whatever challenges we need to face again. So now we will practice together abdominal breathing, like belly breathing, to calm our body and mind. Just to feel the belly breathing, it would be beneficial to put one of your hand or two of your hands in your belly, but feel free to put your hand in the most comfortable position you feel. We will also do like a 4-1-4 breathing. So this is like a count. So when we inhale, we will do it 4 counts. And then we will hold it for 1 second. And then we will exhale through our mouth, like blow it out for 4 seconds. But relax, this is very easy. I'll guide you during the process. And the most important thing is for you to take time for this time, this 2 minutes, 3 minutes to relax and only breathe. Now, feel free to join us if you feel comfortable. So find a place where you will not be disturbed for the next 3 minutes, if possible. Sit comfortably. Yeah, I cross my leg. You cannot see me, but I cross my leg. But you can put your leg flat on the floor, or you can stand, you can lay down. Just choose your position. You may close your eyes. Yeah, some people find it beneficial, or you may keep them open. But if you want to keep them open, soften your gaze, like not like we are not doing the staring competition. So just soften your gaze to few meters or few meters in front of you, and try to relax your shoulder. Imagine that you finish everything you need to do today, and you can rest now for at least 3 minutes. Yeah, and if you want, you can lean back to your chair or a wall, or you can keep also your back softly straight. Your hands, like I said, can be placed on your belly or on your laps, or wherever feel comfortable to you. Now, imagine that you are smelling your favorite flower, or your favorite food, or your favorite place. Breathe in slowly and exhale slowly. Very good. Now we will try to breathe in for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold for 1, 1, and exhale slowly through our mouth for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, we breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, and exhale through our mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. One more time. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold. 1. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last time. Very good. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Now we can breathe as usual. We will stay to enjoy our breath for 2 minutes, and also the music. I speak again when it's closer to end our exercise. Now is closer to end our exercise. I hope you find the simple joy and relaxing feeling in your breath. If you close your eyes, gently open it. And it's good to close this exercise with a smile, so we have that extra boost of joy. So thank you, everyone. Baikong, if I may add, this simple breathing exercise can be done in 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes, like what we did earlier. It helps us to relax our body and our brain. And As with every practice, relaxation needs repetition and our time. Our body and brain also need our care to relax. And it's best to do this exercise in a safe place where we will not be disturbed, at least for the 3 minutes when we do it. Again, sitting, standing, or laying down are okay. Choose your option. The most important thing is you feel comfortable and safe when you do this exercise. All right, so if I will share again, I would like to share other ways for us to take care of ourselves, aside from practicing abdominal breathing relaxation. So these are the things that you could do or we could do based on your time availability. For example, if you have 3 minutes only in your day, because we are all very busy, right? We can daydream, for example, we can laugh, we can doodle, or we can remember one of our accomplishments, and we can compliment ourselves. Actually, we did a very good job to survive. Or we can look out the window, we can share a favorite joke, and again, we can do that simple breathing exercise that we just did now. And if you have 5 minutes, you can eat, for example, your favorite snack. You can have or make a cup of tea or warm drinks. Yeah, some people also think that the feel benefits of doing like a cleansing cry, that you have a very good cry. Yeah, or singing or chat with your friends. And then if you have 10 minutes, you can write in your journal, you can call a friend, you can do a longer breathing exercise. For example, you can pray or do your spiritual routine. You can draw a bigger picture, for example. You can dance, you can listen to a soothing sounds or music, you can read. And if you have 30 minutes, it's even better. You can exercise your favorite sport, or walk, you can take a bath or a shower. You can watch a sunset or a sunrise, and you can sit under a tree or in a park near a water side. You can watch your favorite TV show. You can play with your pet or play with a kid or your neighbor's pet. You can savor your favorite meal to really enjoy your food, your meal, or you can take a short nap. But these all are example. Feel free to modify it in accordance to your need or your situation or your preference. Yeah, the idea is to tell you that to take care of yourself, to relax, there are many ways to do it, and you don't need to allocate a lot of time to do it. So that's all for me, Baikong. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Valencia. That was very calming and relaxing. And also love the music. I'm a one that likes music, and I think a calming music does great wonders on your body and mind. And also, I think, for example, for me, when I get stressed, I feel like my back is hunching. So breathing exercise, deep breath, and inhaling and exhaling actually do wonders. So I also would like to recommend that to our participants, and I hope our participants find a few minutes of deep breathing and a good one for this afternoon. So let's now open the floor for our Q&A. So we have a couple of questions. Some of the questions were actually left by our participants at the Q&A box. But and G also tried to answer some of the questions. But before we go there, we have a couple of questions that we can try to answer first. So G, one of our participants said that one of their family members is tested positive but the rest of them are negative. So they are asking about how they can better protect themselves. You're muted?
I am
Yeah.
I am
Yes.
muted. I was at Zen when Valencia was doing this relaxation exercise. All right, so to answer your question, Ate Bai, so what can we do to help to protect ourselves and our family members? For sure, everyone needs to do a rapid antigen test. Like I mentioned earlier, if you are a close contact, do the rapid antigen test. The infected person, or I would say everyone, need to wear a mask. At home all the time, and disinfect your home. One way of doing it as well is, say, for example, if the infected person will take a shower, or will take a shower towards the end of the day, or would be the last person to take a shower, just so after that you can actually disinfect your bath. And then if the infected person use the toilet as well, just to make sure to disinfect again your toilet as well. What else? Ventilate, have proper ventilation, especially for the one who is staying in the isolation in your house. But there are also cases wherein there are more positive, or there are more infected person in the house as compared to the negative ones. So in this case, you can actually do the reverse isolation, whereby the non-infected person, or whose result is negative, is the one doing the isolation as opposed to those who were positive. And again, make sure that you are disinfecting all the common spaces that you use inside the house as well.
Thank you, G. The other question is on, so a friend of hers is worried about the potential lockdown. And so panic buying, as we all experience and seen, supermarkets and the markets every day is having an empty shelves. But then there is still urge to buy more. So how can this person relax or calm her friends down, given the current concern and panic about food supply, and also getting infected later on, and having not enough supplies like disinfectants or even food at home? So any tips?
So it's for me, yeah, by
Yes,
Kong.
Valencia, yes, please.
Okay. Actually, Hong Kong has never experienced lockdown before, so it's very common, very normal for people to have this reaction to involve to buy food to stock up, because actually these are the way for us to create a sense of security. We want to secure, at least we want to ensure that we have like whatever we need, like the basic needs like food, disinfectant, whatever we need in case this lockdown happen. The concern here is being excessively doing it, right? So if it's become excessive and it becomes more like, for example, the fridge is already full, but they have another fridge, or they bought another fridge to keep that, is to talk with them, to discuss with them. For example, to tell them that, look, actually you already stock up for 14 days, and this is still uncertain. Things can change, right? Maybe the government changed their mind, and we don't know yet. So maybe we can wait and see. But again, it's very uncertain and no one knows the future. I think it's important to understand that panic buying is way for us to create a sense of security. But again, it's not that we should all do panic buying, but it's more to understand why this happened, so we can be of support of others and ourselves.
Thank you, Valencia.
Thank you.
So the next question is for G. I think it's going back again to the discussion about being positive or being negative, and then later on turning positive. So maybe it's a good round to just remind us, all of us again. So if the result is already negative, so the question is, do I still need to wait until the recommended time to take the test again?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, when one is infected of COVID, there is a certain time frame where the virus can actually incubate in your body. Most likely, they would say that the incubation period goes from 6, 7, 10 to 14 days actually. So that's why we were saying earlier that especially if you are a close contact or if you have any symptoms or classic symptoms of COVID, once you are tested negative, to do the test again after 2 to 3 days to make sure that you are negative, and then test again. So it's day 1, day 4, if I remember, day 7, day 10, just to make sure that you don't have the viral load inside your body.
So just to repeat again what you said. So day 1, day 4, day 7, and day 10. And of
Yes.
course, it's important to mark the calendar, right?
Yes,
to
exactly.
make sure that you remembered when was the last time you actually took the test, turned negative, if that was the result, until that days are over.
Yeah, and if you really want to make sure that you are super sure that you don't have the virus in your body, you can also test yourself at day 14 and also submit yourself for PCR testing if you are unsure, if it stress you out. If you stress you out that it's just a rapid test, then you can also do the PCR testing. But most likely with the rapid test, it's already okay as per the government's advice as well.
Thanks, G. I think we also have a question with in relations to it seems to be it's taking a whole lot of time. It seems to be that we were going to be in this uncertainty for a longer period than we would love it to be. We would want it to be. So Valencia, yeah, in your experience, having to face this kind of uncertainty, especially for patients that you have dealt with in the past, how can apart from the breathing exercise and all, any other ways to actually be able to surpass all these uncertainty that we're facing?
Yeah, the thing is, again, no one can really predict the future. Like even like we have fortune teller, but you know that their ability is also not 100%. So what we can see is like, a possibility, for example. What we can say is like, usually we will ask the patient or the person to focus on, for example, they survive a lot of events in their life, similar events when they have to deal with uncertainty. We will ask them to reconnect with that skill, that tools they used in the past. What helps them, for example? Is it like sharing with a trusted friend, or is it practicing their spiritual or religious ritual, or are they talking to a professional to seek for help? So what works for them in the past, and how they can bring these tools and these skills now to face similar, more or less similar uncertainty. Yeah, but of course, to balance that to the knowledge that no one in this planet yet still have that certainty to know what will happen in the future. Is everyone a similar situation?
Indeed.
So if that makes sense.
It
Yeah.
does. And I think just to add as well that our speaker, Sir Valencia, even mentioned that we have a How Are You website where you have those basic tips and coping mechanisms that you can deploy anytime when you feel stressed or anxious. But also there are a few hotlines if you are in Hong Kong that you can access and call anytime when you need someone to talk to. And of course, most importantly, as mentioned by Valencia, is that let's get in touch with our family and friends. They are our support mechanism. They are our community, and they can help us through to get through this situation. So thank you for the questions from our audiences, from our participants. Before we end the session, I would like to ask G and also Valencia to give us your final thoughts and takeaways from today's session. So G, let's start from you.
Yeah, so what I can say is that when you tested positive of COVID, do not panic. Keep compose yourself and do what is necessary. Isolate, test, inform other persons that you are in close contact with to have them self-isolated or to have them self-tested as well. Hydrate, drink lots of water, eat the right kind of food, fruits and veggies, and also make sure that you follow, like, if you have symptoms, to check yourself as well. If your symptoms are progressing, go for medical checkup. If you only have mild symptoms, continue to self isolate, wear mask at all times, and follow the infection control measures at home and in your isolation center.
Thank you, G. Valencia, I give you 1 minute for your final thoughts.
Okay, thank you, Baikong. So I just want to remind again to everyone that our body and brain and mind are amazing. They did a very good job to protect ourselves during this difficult time. So every worry, every nervous, every uncertain feeling that you feel are very normal. This is a sudden change for a lot of people. We have to deal with one change and we haven't taken it in, and then another change come again. So it's very common to feel overwhelmed. But now that you know this is how our body works, and I'm hoping that you start to work with your body and brain. Like, for example, now that you know that breath is one of your superpower, and actually doing relaxing activity and taking care of yourself doesn't need a lot of time to do it. You can start with 3 minutes per day and grow from that. And so, yeah, so I hope you all get to practice that, to take care of yourself and do relaxation activities. And congratulations again to take this first step to know yourself physically and psychologically.
Thank you, Valencia. Thank you, G. Now we've come to the end of today's discussion on COVID-19. I'd like to thank our speakers for joining us and sharing their thoughts with our participants. So to all of you here, if you have any further questions on health information, please visit our Omicron Health Info webpage. You can go to our website. It's on the PowerPoint. You may also visit our How Are You website. So this is our mental health website with tips, but also numbers to call in case you need professional help. The website is also designed and also provided tips by our psychologist. We also have free and downloadable storybooks for children to address their anxiety. So both in Chinese and English versions are available and free. So thank you once again and take care. Stay safe, everyone.